Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today in this healthy living series, I wanted to share my tips for natural childbirth. Now, if you're new here, I have 3 children. I have a 9-year-old, 5-year-old, 2-year-old. And on this series, I want to talk about healthy living, natural living. And I think, especially with summer being in full swing, that a lot of babies are born during this time, and I think this information would be helpful. And obviously, I'm not a doctor, nurse, anyone in the medical field. I'm just a mom sharing her experience. But I remember being pregnant and looking for resources out there or experiences, stories out there about natural deliveries. So this is kind of my take on it. So the first thing I want to say is this is not a video to judge how somebody births. I think the most important thing during your birth is that you are comfortable with whatever decisions you make. For example, only 2 out of my 3 births were natural births. And I hate the word natural, I'm gonna go with unmedicated births. So my first one, I had an epidural, I had Pitocin, I had all of it. My second and third were unmedicated births. So again, I stress with you, it's not how the child is brought into this world that's important, it's what makes you most comfortable. But these are some of the tips I've learned since having 2 unmedicated births. So the first resource I highly recommend is this, the Mama Natural Week by Week Guide to Pregnancy and Childbirth. And it's funny because Genevieve Howland, mamanatural.com, is the first person I ever watched on YouTube, again, because I was in those prime baby years. This is a wonderful resource, and I wish it was around during my first pregnancy. I actually only got to use it for my 3rd pregnancy, and it was still useful as a 3rd-time mom. I found this book really helpful still. So it goes through a bunch of different natural options. What I really like about it is it goes through, obviously it's like the What to Expect When You're Expecting book. It goes through different semesters and what to expect. What I really like is that in each one, it includes a recipe of specific nutrients you should be focusing on that. I know for folate, it was a specific food you were supposed to eat, and it goes throughout. I really like starting at 36 weeks, the recommended recipe is date bars, because if you didn't know, there's theories out there that if you eat 6 dates a day, it will make you have an easier labor, which I don't know if that's true. I did it and I had easier labors with my 2nd and 3rd, but I don't know if it's necessarily true. But I really like that it has resources like that. So I found this resource extremely helpful, and what I really like is there's a special section in here for labor, for tips on if you want to do an unmedicated birth. There's also a section in here on C-sections, which I really respect. So they talk about different ways to go about that and recovery as well. There's a really good section here on postpartum, which I think a lot of books leave out. It's all about, getting to the finish line, but no one talks about what happens after you have the baby. I also really appreciate in this book that there's a pregnancy loss section. I think that is very important to talk about and have those resources there. So I would highly recommend checking out this book, even if you're not a first-time mom. Like I said, I read it with my 3rd pregnancy and I found it still really helpful. Number 2 thing I would recommend is seeing a chiropractor. Now this made a very big difference for me. So my first child was an 18-hour labor. My 2nd child was a 3-hour labor. My 3rd child was an 1.5 hours. And that's from first contraction to baby coming out. Now, I think I only saw a chiropractor with my 3rd pregnancy, and it made a very big difference. So with my first, I suffered from really bad round ligament pain. I'm a pretty small person, 5'2". I'm pretty petite naturally. And so especially carrying that weight on the baby, and I don't have large babies. All my kids have been exactly 6 pounds, 14 ounces. My husband laughs that that's literally my limit, my max capacity. But for me, physically carrying that much, it was difficult, and it caused me not only a lot of back pain and round ligament pain, but my hips hurt, everything pretty much hurt, especially after a long labor with my first. I had some residual pain. I also dealt with the separation of your ab, the dias recti, that I had to fix after having my child. Because again, I didn't have huge babies, but for me physically, it was large. The chiropractor made all the difference. With my third child, I saw her before getting pregnant with my third child because, again, I was dealing with the dias recti, and she was able to give me exercises and stretches to help with that. And I think it's very important to heal that before you go into another pregnancy. It's easier and better for your body. She was able to give me techniques, and I think it's very important to get that information from professionals, not necessarily, watching just YouTube videos, but getting it from trained professionals in that area. On top of that, I was able to realign my body. Like I said, my first labor was very long, and it actually caused some issues with like my lower back that I was still dealing with. I had my daughter at 26, and my last one was at 32, or 31, 32. So I had dealt with a lot of residual back pain from that, and it wasn't from my epidural because of the location. It was because of just the delivery in itself. It was difficult for me. So I was able to alleviate that pain, again, doing the exercises that she taught me to do, because it was funny, all it came down to is strengthening a lot of my core muscles that had been weakened from carrying, delivering, postpartum, all those things with not only one but two children. So I'd really recommend finding a chiropractor that specializes in not only prenatal care but postpartum care as well, because that is essential. I looked for a doctor that was specifically trained and certified in the Webster technique, so that's my dog scratching. That is a chiropractor that can help get baby into position if they're breech. So again, you want trained professionals with these things, not just someone saying they know what they're doing. Again, look for these certifications. My chiropractor continues to get more prenatal postpartum certifications. So I think that's really important, and it makes a big difference. My third pregnancy, I didn't deal with that horrible round ligament pain. I didn't deal with back pain. My hips didn't hurt. And I would say in the last 3 weeks of my pregnancy, I was seeing her once a week, and I actually saw her a day and a half before I delivered. And it makes such a difference to have your body prepared and adjusted in the way, because as you know, in pregnancy, everything loosens up, everything kind of falls out of place, especially the more kids you have. So having those adjustments really makes a difference. And what's really nice is my chiropractor will also visit postpartum to your house to adjust not only you, but if you would like as well, your infant, because obviously that can be both difficult for baby and mother. So that would be my number 2, is find a really good chiropractor, and don't wait till you're pregnant to start seeing them. You can see them before, you can see them during, you can see them after. So number 3 would be, make sure you have a good support person. I think this is pretty obvious, especially if this is your first time. It can be very daunting to think about making sure someone there who understands what you want out of this, because if you're anything like me, you definitely get in the zone, you're very nonverbal. And it makes it easier if there is someone there that can advocate for you. I've had, like I said, 3 kids, and I've had it in 3 different hospitals, 2 different states. So I've had a different birthing experience in each of those, but the thing I've noticed a lot is doctors and nurses will often frame things in ways where it doesn't seem like a question. So instead of saying, would it be okay for us to check you right now to see how dilated you are, they'll say, it's time to check you. Like you don't have necessarily a say in it, and you do, so you need to, and it goes over this, understanding your, rights when it comes to that, your decision making. I remember with my first, they wanted me on the monitor all the time, they didn't want me to walk, and just different things like that. Knowing the answer to those questions before you're going in, and if you are not a person that is very straightforward, or you don't like necessarily conflict or anything like that, making sure you have a person there, whether it be a spouse, a parent, a doula, any of those options are great, but having someone there that can speak for you if you're unable to. The next one would be music. I've seen a lot of things on stories and YouTube and different things that people talk about hypnobirthing, and there's nothing against that if it works for you. Or listening to really relaxing music. That's not me. I don't view labor as, I see it kind of as running a marathon, right? You're physically going to probably push your body the most it's ever been pushed before. And whenever I'm exerting myself physically, I don't want to listen to relaxing music. I want to listen to really pumped up music to really get me like, yeah, I can do this. So I didn't listen to relaxing wave sounds or anything like that. I actually listened to heavy metal while I was in labor, which was pretty funny because with my last one, I forgot the headphones because I was just going to use my phone and use the headphones, but I forgot my headphones, so I just used my phones. Whenever the nurses came into the room, they were like, oh, what's going on here? It was like a heavy metal concert, so a lot of AC/DC. It really got me into the right frame of mind. Again, this is coming down to each specific person. If you're the person that enjoys listening to sound waves or water, go for it. But if you're the person that really needs to get into the zone and get hyped up for this, then go with what music works for you. It's really helped me get through those difficult times. The last one I would say is to know yourself and know your body. And I know this is very difficult, especially if this is a first pregnancy, to say that, but knowing what works for you. Like I said, with my first labor, they wanted me pretty much in the bed monitored. And for me to labor, I need to be moving. And that's something I've learned from first, second, third pregnancy. I need to be active. As soon as I stop moving, for example, with my third, they wanted me to get on the bed real quick to make sure heart rate and everything was good, and then I could get back up. As soon as I laid in that bed, not only did my contractions hurt worse, but they started getting farther apart. For me, knowing what I need to do, I need to move. I need to constantly be moving. I'd be moving. As soon as I had a contraction, I'd lean over the bed, have my contraction, get moving again. That is just instinctually what I felt like I needed to do. And going with your instincts with that is really important. Now, there are professionals, depending on where you decide to deliver, but they are there for advice. For example, my last pregnancy and labor, I was almost fully dilated, but not quite there. So the nurse gave me a suggestion on a position to try to kind of nudge baby's head down a little more and finish the dilation process. And as soon as she did that, bam, baby popped out. Nurse actually had to deliver the baby. So I'm sure she'll remember the next time she makes that advice to someone to be prepared. But yes, to not fear necessarily the people there to help you. Because again, I've had different situations with all three of them. I've had pushy doctors, I've had pushy nurses. Understanding your body and what's going to work for you, and having either that advocate, that doula, that spouse be able to advocate for you. And to go with that is too, I think the biggest problem with labor is the idea of fear, especially if you're first time, second time, third, it doesn't matter. You never know what's going to happen. And for a lot of people, that can be very frightening, and that can lead to a lot of fearful choices. This is something I struggled with all of my pregnancies, even after I had an unmedicated birth with my second. I thought, okay, can I really do this again with my third? And yes, I was fully capable of it. But it's okay to have that fear. It's okay to not be sure. The way I handled it is, again, I educated myself the best I could going into it. I knew my expectations of what I wanted, but I was not so stuck on those. I know things can change, different things happen. I wasn't, like, one of my labors, they wanted a birth plan. One of them didn't, and the doctor and my third just like, okay, what do you want to do? So having an understanding of what you want, but not having it written in stone, because things will change, and it can be difficult while you're in the middle of the process to have those things change. When your heart head's set on a certain thing happening, things change, and that's okay. What got me through it is knowing that at the end of this, no matter what this happens, this baby will come out of me some way. And that is the greatest part of all. going along with the fear, especially when you're in the most difficult part of transitioning into hard labor, it can be difficult. It can be very overwhelming thinking, can I handle this? Even now I have a very short hard labor, luckily. But I even have those thoughts like, oh my God, can I handle the next contraction? Can I do it? It's not so much the pain that's overwhelming. It's the fear of knowing whether or not I can handle it. And yes, I can handle it. I would tell myself, yes, you can do this. I would relax my body, even though so much of our body is telling us, oh my God, tense up. Because when we feel pain, our body's like, But relaxing your body is so important. Knowing that this pain has a purpose. This pain is doing something. So I would tell myself this pain is having a purpose. It's different when you get hit or you get injured. That pain is different than the pain you experience in childbirth. This pain is helping that, hopefully, helping that baby come down and that baby come out. So you're feeling it for a reason. It has a purpose in it. And that, for me, helped, knowing that this pain I was going through was for a reason, that this child was going to come out. So, if you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, thanks for watching.